The first thing I remember is the sound of glass shattering. It wasn't dramatic at first, just a faint crack, like ice giving under pressure, but it sliced straight through the soft cafe hum and seared itself into my skull. A woman gasped somewhere behind me. Someone cursed under their breath. And I, my hands trembling so violently my coffee rippled, stared at the phone screen that had just slipped from my fingers and hit the tile floor. Because on that screen, paused in a frozen frame that I knew would haunt me long after this moment, was my girlfriend of 3 years, Leah, kissing someone who was definitely not me. His hand was tangled in her hair. Her fingers clutched his shirt. Their eyes were closed with a familiarity that stabbed through my chest like something serrated. And they were in our apartment. I didn't even know how the video had ended up on my phone. No sender name. No explanation. Just a 30-second clip, looping cruelly, as if trying to force my eyes wider, trying to drag a reaction out of me I wasn't ready to feel. My breath collapsed inward, a harsh, choking inhale. Suddenly, the entire cafe felt too loud, too bright, too close. That was when she spoke. "Hey, are you okay?" I didn't look up. Couldn't. My heart thrashed against my ribs like a trapped animal, frantic and wild, while cold sweat gathered at my spine. I could barely breathe, let alone answer, but she pulled out the chair across from me anyway. I don't mean to intrude," she said, her voice soft but steady. "It just looks like you're having a moment. And I been there." I blinked, finally forcing myself to lift my head. That was the first time I really saw her. A stranger, dark hair falling past her shoulders, warm brown eyes framed by lashes that made her expression look softer than her words. A winter coat partially unzipped, a scarf wrapped loosely around her neck. She held a tray with a hot drink and a slice of lemon cake she'd clearly been hoping to enjoy alone. The cafe was packed, people shoulder to shoulder, holiday lights flickering across the windows, but somehow she'd chosen my table. Or maybe I looked as broken as I felt. "Mind if I sit?" she asked. My throat was too tight to speak, but I nodded. She smiled a little, not pitying, just human, and settled opposite me. I didn't know then how big of a role she was about to play in everything that followed. I didn't know who she was, or what she was running from, or why fate, or coincidence or twisted luck, had led her to pick my table out of all the others. At that moment, I just saw someone offering a lifeline when I was drowning, and I took it. Her first words after sitting down were simple. "Do you want to talk about it?" I swallowed, the motion painful. "No." "Yes." "I don't know." She nodded, as if that made perfect sense. I forced my eyes away from the shattered phone on the ground, the cracked screen still faintly glowing. The image of Leah and the unknown guy tried to claw its way back into my mind again. My stomach rolled. I felt by her eyes. Is it? The woman hesitated. Breakup bad? Or someone was an idiot bad? I gave a harsh, humorless laugh. Infidelity bad. Her expression softened, but she didn't look shocked. Just sad, like she recognized the terrain of heartbreak too well. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "That's a special kind of pain." I nodded, suddenly embarrassed by the emotion swelling in my chest. I didn't want to fall apart in front of a stranger. I didn't want to crumble. But something about her made it hard to stay sealed shut. "How'd you know?" I asked. "That it was infidelity." She took a slow sip of her drink. "You look like you'd just been stabbed. And heartbreak has a particular way of bending the body. Most other emotions hit from the outside. Betrayal comes from the inside." I stared at her. "Have you been through it?" I asked. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she cut a corner of her lemon cake with a fork, placed it into her mouth, chewed slowly. Swallowed. "Yes," she finally said. "More than once." Her tone held no bitterness, just weary truth. "I'm Elise," she added after a moment. I gave my name in return. My voice cracked. "Do you want to look at the phone together?" she asked gently. No, the answer came too fast, almost panicked. "No, I can't. Not yet." "Okay." She didn't push. She just sat there, present and patient, while I fought to keep myself from unraveling completely. The truth was, I didn't know what I was feeling. Not exactly. Shock, obviously. Hurt. Confusion so thick it made my thoughts sludge-like. Anger that flickered but didn't quite catch yet. But beneath all of it, there was something else too. Denial. The part of me that wanted to call Leah immediately and demand an explanation. One that might absolve her. One that might make this nightmare dissolve into something rational. Maybe it wasn't her. Maybe the man had grabbed her and she pushed him away afterward. Maybe the angle was misleading. Maybe. But the voice in my head that wanted to believe these things felt smaller than the voice whispering the truth. You saw it. You know. My hands trembled harder. Breathe, Elise murmured. Deep. Slow. I listened because I had nothing else to anchor myself to. In. My chest expanded painfully. Out. My vision steadied slightly. A few more breaths and the cafeteria noise faded into something distant. You're doing okay, she said softly. I almost laughed again. I'm really not. You're doing better than you think. For a moment, I simply stared at her, trying to place the strange feeling her presence evoked. Calm, maybe, or something adjacent to safety. It confused me. Why? Why did you come sit with me? I asked. There weren't many seats, she admitted. I raised an eyebrow. She sighed. Okay, that's partially true. But the real reason... She looked down at her coffee, finger tracing circles on the cup. You look like you shouldn't be alone right now. Something twisted in my chest. You didn't even know what was wrong. I didn't need to. Her certainty made my heart wobble. Besides, she added lightly, I'm good at spotting people trying not to fall apart. It's like a sixth sense. There was something behind her words. Something she wasn't saying. A story of her own betrayal, maybe deeper than she let on. But I didn't ask. Not yet. For a little while, we sat in silence. Then Elise asked a question I'd been bracing myself for. How long were you two together? 3 years, I said. We lived together. A slow, pained understanding settled in her features. That's a deep cut. Yeah. Did things feel off before today? My stomach tightened. I don't know. Maybe. There were little things. Tiny, stupid things I didn't want to read into. She nodded knowingly. Those add up. I swallowed hard. She was working late more often, I admitted. More phone notifications she hid. More nights she'd go quiet and stare at nothing. I kept telling myself she was stressed, tired, overworked. And now I feel like an idiot. You're not. She said it with gentle firmness. Trusting your partner doesn't make you an idiot. It makes you human. I blinked hard to keep tears from forming. I keep thinking maybe I forced the words out even as they fought me. Maybe I wasn't enough. Elise leaned forward, her eyes steady and sharp. That's not how cheating works, she said. People cheat because something is broken inside them, not because something is lacking in you. The words hit deeper than I expected. She looked away then, fingers tightening around her coffee cup. Some people like to blame the betrayed. Makes the pain easier to swallow. But the truth? Betrayal comes from their weakness, not your worth. I stared at her, the conviction in her voice so strong it felt like she was speaking from a wound still bleeding. Who hurt you? The question slipped out. She inhaled sharply. My ex-husband, she whispered. Husband, not boyfriend, not casual partner. The weight of that single word was enough to make my chest ache on her behalf. He had this way of looking at me like I was the problem, she continued. Like I was causing the distance. Like if I were just more patient, more understanding, more accommodating, then maybe he wouldn't have been so cold. I felt anger on her behalf, raw and immediate. I'm sorry, I said. She smiled weakly. It's been 2 years. I'm learning to let go. A beat of silence. Do you trust people again? I asked quietly. She looked straight at me. Some people, she said. Not many, but some. For reasons I couldn't explain, that answer mattered more to me than it should have. My breathing was steadier now. The panic had lifted just enough that logic could crawl back in. I reached down and picked up my shattered phone. The video was still there, still looping, still destroying pieces of me with each frame. I didn't want to tap it, didn't want to watch it. but my thumb hovered over the screen anyway. Do you want me to watch it first? Elise offered, surprising me. What? If you're not ready, I can tell you what's in it. Filter it for you a little. The kindness hit me so hard it almost broke me again. You barely know me, I whispered. She gave a small, sad smile. Pain recognizes pain. I closed my eyes. A long moment passed. No, I said finally. I'll watch it. I have to. She nodded and folded her hands in her lap, giving me space. My thumb trembled as I tapped the screen. The video enlarged. Play. And then, what the hell? I breathed. Elise leaned forward. What is it? It's not just Leah, I whispered. The guy she's with. My pulse thundered in my ears. I know him. Elise's brows knit. Who is he? I swallowed, mouth suddenly dry. He's my best friend. Her lips parted in shock. And just like that, everything I thought I knew about betrayal cracked open wider, revealing an abyss I hadn't yet fallen into. But I was about to. My chest felt hollowed out, like someone had scooped marrow from my bones and left a brittle shell behind. Seeing him, Aaron, there with Leah in the video made my stomach flip in a way nor she never had. Aaron, who taught me to ride a bike, who'd been at every birthday and breakup and celebration. Aaron, whose laugh could still make me grin 3 years later at the memory of a stupid prank we'd pulled in college. How could he? Elise reached for my hand before I realized I was about to drop the phone. Her fingers were warm and steady. The contact tethered me to something human. You sure it's him? She asked. I watched the loop again. Close enough. The jawline, the mole nears left the way he crinkled his nose when he smiled, subtle, private things that only people who knew him would notice. My voice felt foreign when I spoke. I can tell by the way he smiles when he kisses someone he thinks is his. I said, it's the same stupid, cocky smile he always had. He looked comfortable. At home. Elise's face went pale. That's complicated, she said slowly. Complicated. The word landed like a soft, ridiculous euphemism for the jagged gash ripping through my life. How long? She asked. How long what? How long have you known him? I frowned. Since I was 8. Then it hurts like made of concrete, she said. Because friendship expects a different covenant, one with hands that don't stab you in the dark. Her words were honest and small and full of accusation, but aimed gently, not fiercely. Still, they echoed in my head like thrown stones. I'm going to call him, I said. Maybe wait, Elise said. Take 5 minutes. Think. If you call angry, you'll say things you regret. I swallowed. There was wisdom in her caution, but there was also a molten furnace behind my rib that demanded action. I wanted answers. I wanted to confront both of them. I wanted their explanations to make sense. I have to know. I lied. Elise didn't argue. She slid her napkin across the table and, in neat handwriting, wrote down something and pushed it to me. For when you're ready, she said. On the napkin was a number and one word. Lawyer. You brought me. I don't know a lot, she said. But I know you shouldn't make any binding decisions on a caffeinated adrenaline rush. People do stupid things when their mouths are moving faster than their brains. We both laughed, brittle and short. Her laugh sounded like a fragile bell. Okay, I said, folding the napkin and putting it in my pocket. 5 minutes. That's not a promise. She nodded, eyes steady. I sat with my phone in my lap and watched the patrons around us, a couple arguing over a slice of cake, a student scribbling into a notebook, a barista yelling a name that didn't match anyone's order. The world kept moving as if mine wasn't crumbling beneath my feet. My mind began to count backwards, like an old, rattling clock trying to make sense of time. 3 years, 1 apartment, mornings when she would make 2 coffees and leave one on the counter for me, nights when Leah would rub my shoulders and tell me not to worry about her emails, the way she always laughed at my terrible puns, the time she left a sticky note on the mirror that said, "Come back safe," the night I flew to Chicago. The memories lined up like soldiers, stoic and unhelpful. I thought of Aaron. The late-night drives when we talked about nothing and somehow ended up understanding each other better than anyone. The night he'd driven 2 hours to help me pick out a suit for Leah's sister's wedding. The whispered secret he'd shared about his father, the way he'd sat me down for the talk when I was too drunk to get home alone and told me, with ridiculous tenderness, to call him if I ever needed anything. And now, the video. My fingers fumbled for Leah's number. I hadn't called her in the last 24 hours. An ugly, prying part of me asked why she'd let Aaron in our house. Another part imagined explanations, a drunken stumble, a moment of weakness, seduction, a mistake that meant nothing. Those thoughts were a bomb I scarcely believed. I tapped the call button, hearing my heart beat like a metronome. It rang once, twice. She picked up. Hey, Leah's voice sounded casual, like linen folding. Everything okay? My voice came out hoarse. Where are you? Running late at the studio, she said. I thought you were at work. She's with Aaron. The words burst from my mouth like a dam finally breaking. There's a video. In our apartment. Silence swallowed her. I could almost hear her breath, suddenly shallow. What video? She asked, voice slippery. The one with the two of you. Kissing. I felt the words scrape the back of my throat. There was a noise on the other end that wasn't a laugh or denial. It was small and human. Fear, maybe, or panic. I don't, she started. Don't what? I demanded. Don't say anything. Just where are you right now? I'm at the studio. There was a tremor now. Look, can we talk about this when I get home? I can explain. I wanted to hear everything. I wanted answers now. But a cooler sense, maybe Elise's leftover advice, made me steady my voice. Don't come home, I said. Not yet. There it was. The first boundary I'd ever set that felt like armor. Why? She whined. What the hell is going on? You tell me, I said, and don't lie. She sighed, a long, exhausted sound. I'm sorry. This is a mess. Can you pick up Emma from daycare? Her voice faltered on the name like a drop cup. Emma, Leah's 5-year-old daughter. I'd met her enough to know the tilt of her head when she was puzzled, the impossible seriousness when she played with her action figures. Aaron knew Emma too. He'd once babysat her when Leah had to take a last-minute trip. I hadn't thought about Emma. Not yet. The city suddenly felt too small and unbearably large at once. I'll pick her up, I said, though my throat burned. Thank you, Leah said. Please don't. Don't do anything crazy. Let's talk when I get home. The line went dead. I stared at the phone as if it might pulse with meaning. I felt absurdly childish. The adult in me wanted to slam the phone against the wall, to hurl accusations and destroy everything that had made me feel so safe. The other half felt hollow and tired and oddly protective. Emma's name had a gravity that made cruelty impossible for a beat. Elise watched me, eyes unreadable for a second. You okay? No, the word was honest and simple. You want me to come with you to get the kid? She asked. I blinked. Why would you? Because you look like you're carrying a live grenade, she said bluntly. And you shouldn't be the only one holding it. A laugh escaped me, more real this time. I don't even know you. You don't have to, she said. But if you want someone who won't make you do something you'll regret, I can be that. There was something in her voice that made me picture the worst-case scenario so vividly. They gave Elise's offer gravity, not pity. Okay, I said. Yeah, sure, come with me. We left the cafe in a hurried blur, the December wind biting through the gap in my jacket. The city had the scent of wet pavement and exhaust and cinnamon from street vendors, normalcy smeared across corruption. Elise walked beside me, shoulders straight, hands shoved into her coat pockets as if afraid to touch me and make this more real. We arrived at the daycare where Emma was, the fluorescent light inside warm and reassuring. Children small and unbothered by adult disasters flitted around like confetti. Emma saw me and launched across the room as if the universe had not been rearranging by my phone's frozen screen. Uncle, she called, because she had started calling me that the first time Leah left town and I'd entertained her with a shadow puppet show. Hey, Bug, I said, gathering her up. Her hair smelled like strawberries and glue. For a second the world squeezed together into one small safe bubble. Then the weight of the video pressed back into my chest. She's coming home later. Emma asked innocently. Yeah, I lied. Soon. We walked back to the apartment like a half-formed wish. My footsteps were loud in my own ears. Elise kept pace beside me in an almost reverential silence, like she was bracing for an explosion. When we reached the building, the hallway felt like a tunnel into an operating theater. Every step brought me closer to the scene on the screen. I had rehearsed how I'd react in ridiculous ways in my head all morning, screaming, smashing, leaving quietly. None of them prepared me for the emptiness I felt when we pushed open the door and the apartment smelled like Leah. Tea bags in the bin, the favorite blanket draped over the couch, the small pink stool by the sink. Aaron's car was in the driveway. For a second, irrational hope flared. Maybe he was there for something practical. Maybe. Then the video played again behind my eyes, and the hope collapsed. Elise squeezed my hand once. "Ready?" she asked. I nodded. My voice was a blade. "Let's go." We pushed inside. The apartment was too quiet. Not the peaceful kind of quiet, the kind pregnant with things unsaid, the kind that makes skin prickle because you can feel someone else's breath in the room even if you can't hear it. Elise shifted closer behind me as I stepped inside, Emma still in my arms, her head tucked into my shoulder, humming to herself in a soft, distracted way. She was blissfully unaware that the world around her was collapsing in slow motion. "Maybe you should set her in her room," Elise murmured. I nodded. My limbs felt stiff, like they'd been carved out of wood. I took Emma to her small bedroom, walls covered in hand-painted stars we'd done together last summer, and gently set her on her bed with her favorite stuffed fox. She blinked sleepily, her fingers curling around its tail. "Is Mummy coming home?" she asked, eyes soft and trusting. "Yeah, Pug," I whispered. "Later." She smiled, already drifting off, and part of me felt like I was abandoning her to a safety she might not have later. But I had no choice. Some truths needed to be faced without a child in the room. When I stepped back into the hallway, Elise was waiting for me, arms crossed, posture taut. Her eyes flicked to the living room, then back to me, a silent question. I nodded once. Together, we walked toward the soundless center of the apartment like people approaching an open grave. And then I saw him. Aaron was sitting on the couch, my couch, elbows on his knees, head bowed into his hands. He looked like he'd been waiting for an executioner. His keys were on the table. His jacket was draped over the armrest. His shoes were off, like he lived here. His presence alone felt like a fresh betrayal. When he heard my steps, he jolted upright. His eyes, usually warm, mischievous, familiar, widened with a mix of guilt and panic. "Hey," he breathed, standing. "Man, we need to." "Don't," I snapped. The single word stopped him cold. His gaze flicked to Elise. "Whose?" "Doesn't matter who she is," I said. "What matters is why you're here. In my home. After everything." He swallowed hard. "I came to talk. I knew you saw the video." "So it was you?" I asked, voice hollow. "Not someone who looks like you." He winced. "Yeah, it was me." There it was, confirmation. As if my own eyes weren't enough, I needed his mouth to shape the truth like a blade pressed to my skin. "Why?" My voice cracked on the word. Not angry, not accusatory, just broken. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing once before facing me again. "Look, it wasn't supposed to happen. I swear." Leah was stressed. I was stressed. One night we got too drunk. "You kissed her like you meant it," I said. "Like you were comfortable." His jaw tightened. That told me more than his silence ever could. Was it one night? Or more? His eyes darted away. And suddenly everything inside me went still, quiet the way death is quiet. "How long?" I asked again, each syllable a brick sinking into deep water. 2 months, he whispered. The world tilted. Elise reached out instinctively, steadying me with a touch to my arm. 2 months, I repeated, numb, while we lived together, while I cooked for you both, while I trusted you. He closed his eyes as if that made the truth gentler. I didn't mean for it to go that far. "But it did," I said. My voice felt like crushed glass. "She told me she was working late. You told me you were busy. Meanwhile you were here, in my home, touching her like." I know, he hissed. I know, okay? I hate myself for it. Great. Elise cut in sharply. Then you should leave. Aaron looked at her like he'd just noticed she wasn't furniture. Seriously, who is she? Nobody you get to speak to, she shot back. He clenched his jaw. This is between me and him. No, she said, stepping forward. This is between every version of him you've ever taken advantage of. And someone needs to make sure you don't twist anything. I had never been more grateful to a stranger. Aaron, I said quietly, did you love her? His silence said enough. My knees nearly buckled. You loved her, I whispered, stunned. My girlfriend. Your best friend's girlfriend. He looked ashamed and terrified. It wasn't love, he insisted. It was comfort. We were both hurting. You were distant. Don't you dare blame me, I said, taking a step forward. Don't you fucking dare turn this around. I'm not, he insisted. She said she felt unseen. By me, I said. So she crawled into your arms instead. The words tasted like poison. He looked away, but not before I saw something flicker in his eyes. Something I'd never expected. He wasn't just sorry. He was scared I'd never forgive him. Good. He didn't deserve forgiveness. Where is she? I asked. She said she was coming soon. He said, she wants to talk. I laughed. Sharp, humorless. Talk. Right. Great. Are you staying for that? Or will you sneak out the back like a guilty teenager? He didn't answer. And then the door opened. Leah stepped in slowly, like someone entering a room full of sleeping animals. Her eyes found me first, red, swollen, exhausted. Then they flicked to Aaron, and then to Elise, who stood beside me like a storm with good posture. What is she doing here? Leah asked. I found him in the cafe, Elise said coolly. It's a long story. Do you want to focus on the relevant part? Leah blinked at her, stunned, then turned back to me. Can we talk alone? She asked. No, I said. Say whatever you need to say right here. Her hand shook as she slid off her gloves. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't want you to find out like. Like what? I interrupted. By walking in on you. She flinched like I'd struck her. I didn't want to hurt you, she said. But things with us have been strained. So you slept with my best friend, I said. Makes perfect sense. She swallowed. It wasn't supposed to happen. Did you love him? I asked. Her silence was longer than his. Leah, I said again, voice trembling now. Did you love him? A little, she whispered. My chest caved inward. I'm sorry, she added, stepping toward me. I stepped back. Don't, I said. Just don't. She looked desperate suddenly, eyes pleading. We can fix this. We can go to therapy. We can try. Elise's eyes widened slightly at the audacity. Therapy. I choked. After this. Yes, Leah whispered. I want my family back. Family. The word gutted me. We're not a family, I said. We never were. I loved you. I loved Emma. But you, I shook my head. You were building something with someone else behind my back. Leah covered her mouth with her hand, tears spilling. I messed up. I know I did. But please, please, don't leave us. I felt like the ground opened beneath me. Us, meaning her and Emma. Meaning she wanted me to stay in Emma's life even if Aaron was in hers. It was a punch with no warning. I can't stay, I said, voice small. I can't stay in this home. Or anything that looks like it. She sobbed, real, uncontrolled. For a second, guilt clawed at me. Not for her, but for Emma, a 5-year-old who didn't choose any of this. Elise stepped closer. Do you want to get your things? I can help. No, I said softly. There's one thing I need to do first. I turned to Aaron. You, I said, voice sharp as a snap bone. Get out. He opened his mouth like he might argue, but something in my face stopped him. He grabbed his jacket, shoved his keys into his pocket, and walked past me. At the door, he paused. I'm sorry, he said. And for the first time since we were kids, I didn't believe him. He left. The door shut. Leah sobbed into her hands. Elise placed a steadying palm on my back. And for one fragile second, my world felt suspended, broken but hanging. I had no idea the real twist was still coming. For a long moment, none of us moved. Leah slid down to her knees, hands on the floor, shoulders shaking. I should have felt triumphant, vindicated, something cinematic. Instead, I just felt tired, bone deep, soul deep tired. Elise stayed by my side, her hand steady between my shoulder blades like she knew exactly how much force it took to keep someone upright after your internal architecture had collapsed. "I'm sorry," Leah whispered again, her voice cracking with each syllable. "I'm so sorry." But apologies couldn't glue back the porcelain she'd smashed. They only echoed in the empty spaces where trust used to live. I swallowed hard. "I need a..." Elise nodded. "Go. I'll stay with her." I blinked. "Why?" "She shouldn't fall apart alone," Elise said softly, "even if she caused the damage." It surprised me, but somehow it made sense coming from her. Pain recognizing pain again. I stepped outside into the cold. December wrapped around me like a wet cloth, freezing, heavy, unforgiving. I braced my palms against the railing outside our apartment and sucked in lungfuls of icy air until my chest ached. I felt hollow, but not empty. I felt raw, but not ruined. The door creaked behind me a few minutes later. Elise stepped out, her breath puffing into the night. "She's okay." Oh, as okay as someone can be in her situation. I nodded, staring at the parking lot lights casting long shadows over the thin frost. "You don't have to stay," I murmured. "Maybe not," she said, moving beside me. "But something tells me you shouldn't be alone tonight." Her presence felt grounding, neutral, clean, untouched by the rut that filled the apartment behind us. "You handled that better than I would have," she added. "That was handling it." She shrugged one shoulder. "You didn't break anything." I cracked a humorless smile. "I wanted to." "I know," she said gently. "But you didn't. That matters." I let silence settle between us. Not awkward, just quiet, needed, healing. Then Elise said something that pulled my attention. "The betrayal hurts," she said, eyes on the parking lot. "But the worst part is always the lies. You start questioning everything, your choices, your worth, your instincts." I turned toward her. "You sound like you have a PhD in this." She let out a short, breathy laugh. "You don't survive my divorce without developing a minor expertise. So your ex cheated too." She nodded slowly. "Twice. The second time ended it." I let that sink in. "Does it get easier?" I asked. "Not at first," she said. "But eventually, you realize the pain didn't kill you. It just carved out the places where stronger things can grow." I stared at her, her profile lit by the dim yellow of the parking lot lights. She wasn't trying to comfort me with cliches. She wasn't burying the truth in sugar. She was telling me the kind of truth people only learn by surviving something that could have destroyed them. "I'm glad you sat at my table," I said quietly. She smiled, small and warm. "Me too." We stood there maybe 5 minutes, 10, time blurred by shock and cold and breath. Then the apartment door opened again. But this time, it wasn't Leah. It was Emma. Her small voice drifted out into the cold. "Uncle?" I turned instantly. She was in her pajamas, holding her stuffed fox by its tail. Her hair stuck up slightly on one side. Her eyes were swollen with sleep. "Hey, Bug," I said, kneeling. She rubbed her eyes. "Mommy's crying." My chest tightened. "Yeah, there was a grown-up fight." She nodded solemnly, the way kids do when they accept things without understanding them. Then she reached out and placed her small hand over my heart. "Are you gonna leave?" The question hit like a hammer. I looked into her tiny, trusting face, so innocent, so untouched by the mess her mother and Aaron had made. She'd never once asked me not to leave before. She'd never looked scared before. "I don't know yet," I whispered honestly. Her lower lip trembled. Elise stepped forward gently. "Sweetheart, why don't we bring you back inside? It's cold out here. But Emma clung to me. Stay, she whispered. Just stay tonight. And that's when something cracked open in me. Not anger, not grief. Something softer but heavier. The reality that leaving meant leaving her, not just Leah. Leaving meant shattering a second heart. Elise caught my eye. You can stay, she said softly. That doesn't mean staying forever. Just not breaking the little one tonight. I swallowed. She was right. And selfishly, I didn't want to be alone, either. I nodded. Okay, Bug, I'll stay tonight. Emma exhaled in visible relief and hugged her fox to her chest. We took her inside. Elise closed the door gently behind us. Leah was still on the floor, but she'd shifted against the wall, tears drying on her cheeks. She looked up when she saw Emma and let out a small sob of guilt. Emma, sweetheart, come here. Emma walked over without fear and crawled into her lap. Leah held her like she was made of glass. The picture was so tender it made something ache behind my ribs. Elise squeezed my arm. Why don't we get her to bed? She suggested softly. Leah nodded. Yeah. Together, the three of us tucked Emma back into her blanket nest. She clung to my fingers until her breathing evened out. When we stepped out, closing the door with a quiet click, Leah turned to me as though bracing for a sentence. You're really leaving, aren't you? She whispered. Yes, I said, but not tonight. A sob left her chest. I never wanted you to hate me. I don't, I said truthfully. She blinked in surprise. I don't hate you, I repeated, but I can't be with you. Pain etched her face like a carving. I understand. And I think she finally did. Elise touched my elbow. You should get some rest. You look ready to collapse. She was right. I felt wrung out, hollow, stretched thin. I'll sleep on the couch, I said. Leah nodded stiffly and retreated to her room. I lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling. Elise took the armchair and pulled one of Emma's blankets over herself. She didn't go home. She didn't leave me to drown. Hours passed. Sometime after midnight, I fell asleep. I woke to the soft whisper of morning light through the blinds. Elise was still asleep, curled up, hair falling over her cheek. And on the table in front of me was my phone. A notification blinked. New message, unknown number. Frowning, I opened it. A single line appeared. You weren't supposed to see that first video. There's more you need to know. My heart thudded. Another text came through immediately. Meet me at the cafe where you met her. Come alone. No name. No explanation. Just a final message. It's about Emma. The blood drained from my face. I stared at the phone, hands suddenly ice cold. Behind me, Elise stirred awake, oblivious to the fact that the biggest betrayal might not have been Leah and Aaron at all. It might be the truth inside that text, and it might change everything.